Hey everybody, my name is Louis Noasad, and I'm going to read to you my writing assignment because, hey, Dr. Seuss. Dear Dr. Seuss, if that's your real name, I've got a conundrum of which I'm ashamed. I have an addiction quite so culinary, of which I confess to your luminary. While I'm not portly nor neither am svelte, I discovered a dish that's not kind to the belt. It's not berry, vanilla, or mint chocolate chip, but something impossibly mean to the hips. I found it one day whilst walking my elephant at the end of a street, arrested development. A do-it-yourself kind of open establishment with ingredients laid out. It wasn't an accident. I stood in the doorway, my mouth hung agape. There wasn't a kitchen. Was I even awake? At every table I spied a hot plate, and above every seat were the pans and the plates. I told my pet elephant to sit and to stay while I took my first steps toward this curious buffet. Approaching the place where the food was arranged, I rubbed both my eyes. Were they fully deranged? There were melons and berries and broccoli rabe, and astonishing colors of corn on the cob. How shocking to see this corn wasn't yellow, and how crystalline clear was the cubes of the jello. Right in the middle of this odd food display were particular items amid the array. 'Twasn't rabbit, nor carrots, nor the unsalted butter. Green eggs and ham, I heard my mouth mutter. I selected the tray and loaded it up, using tongs and a spatula and a measuring cup. Then it was off to a table to cook quite apparently, a dish that would come to be good non-inherently. The table was made of a huge chopping block, and the knives weren't dull. It wasn't a shock to discover how easily cut was the ham. But to start this whole process, one first needs a pan. So I turned up the heat on the table cooktop, put in the butter, and was ready to rock. When the butter began to melt and smell nutty, in went the ham, and my heart went to putty. For you see, there was nothing more swell than the smell of a sizzling ham. On this I can dwell. But as I would rather not try to burn it, as I would rather not try, oh man, edit. But as I would so rather not try to burn it, I drew my attention to the rest of my toolkit. Remembering what my dear friend Alton would say, crack the eggs on the counter lest shells join the fray. For you see, if one cracks an egg on the lip of the edge of a bowl, the dish won't be hip. When it comes to cracked eggs, I'm led to compel you rap on the table to rend the green shell. Then carefully crating two halves of the whole, the membrane will surrender the eggs to the bowl. Now the bowl and the eggs and the stylish whisk were ready and waiting for a vigorous tryst, with a dash of the salt and a crank of the pepper, a splash of the milk. Dare I say what is better? I cradled the bowl and whisked the eggs swirly, collusion of milk, salt, and pepper so surely. And with this medley of silky smooth green, and just as this medley of silky smooth green came together with ease, ham started to sing. It sizzled and popped and danced in the pan, as if it was saying, "Flip me over, man." I set down the bowl of the blissful green goo and directed my gaze to the handle of blue. A thought came to pass as the pan was quite ample. How lovely a color, this bright azure handle. With a flick of my wrist, the ham flew up high and landed so flatly on the opposite side. I gently set down the blue sizzling pan on the tabletop cooker and then got a hand. People were clapping, and I stood and I bowed, knocking over my bowl, which then hushed the shocked crowd. "What are you doing? Say it's not so!" I was baffled and flustered. Why make such a show? Never has anyone ever before scrambled green eggs, which are now on the floor. I apparently had broken their number one law, and wasn't aware of the heinous faux pas. When cooking with green eggs, one always should try never to scramble. They should always be fried. So quick like a bunny, I dashed to restock. I cleaned up my mess with an awkward small talk. Oops, sorry, my bad, that was totally my fault. It was all I could do to avoid an assault. By now, Mr. Ham had met yummy fate, so I flipped him over onto a red and blue plate. Then into the pan, so buttered and greasy, went 2 perfect eggs. I know it sounds cheesy. Now, if you must know, I'm an impatient cook. When eggs hit the pan, you can't help but to look at how the... I'm going to start that bit over. And now, if you must know, I'm an impatient cook. When eggs hit the pan, you can't help but look at how the white eggs of it... I always have trouble with it. Cut. Now, if you must know, I'm an impatient cook. When eggs hit the pan, you can't help but look at how the whites of an egg always finishes. After the yolk, my patience diminishes. So I take a fork and I gently scrape through the whites of the egg, which will slowly accrue a thickness that grows, structural integrity. I made this aforementionedly speaking, remember the ham? How I flipped it over? Or wrist flip with the pan? The same can be done here for both of the eggs. Just be sure to take stance with both of your legs. Gripping the pan, I gave a slight jerk to loosen the stick to ensure this will work. On a long upward motion, be confident here. Follow the food as its rotational sphere. The egg's top meets the pan. Just follow it down and gently do catch it or you'll rue a frown. Let the 2 eggs cook off just long enough to slide them on top of your ham in the buff. Alone on the plate, get your mind out the gutter. Last, turn off the heat, put back the butter. So if you're wondering where this restaurant is, I'd hate to disturb you, but it's not on a list of eating establishments in fine San Francisco or down the peninsula near the campus of Cisco. For if you remember how this story starts, I was walking an elephant. Now let's all be smart. Everyone knows it's not hard to learn. It's illegal to own such a pet pachyderm. Consider this thought and consider it closely. The fantastical things I've described in this story, a recipe for eggs so green with good ham, can only be dreamed. Sure as my name's not Sam.